Hello, it is Jack Gill, and welcome to Redmen Academy. Obviously, we've not been around for a while for numerous reasons, have we, James?
No, we haven't.
But we're going to try and do some daily videos now to keep you all entertained while we're all self-quarantining. James, obviously, it's been a difficult month or so, really. The last time anybody really talked football. In fact, the last global game was Liverpool versus Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. Obviously, there's behind closed doors friendlies and stuff and games, sorry, in Australia right now, but most leagues have been temporarily suspended. There's a lot of talk over whether the season is going to be voided. There's a lot of talk whether, obviously, the season will recommence at the start of June, maybe in May. Nobody knows for sure yet. Obviously, we've got this massive global pandemic going on, so everything's quite up in the air. The first question, obviously, this is going to be mainly a Q&A today, but the first question I've got for you really is, how much of a problem could this be for young footballers? Obviously, how much does this halt their career, halt their progression? We've seen Curtis Jones having a fantastic season so far, and then all of a sudden he's more towards the first team, and then all of a sudden there's this long break. And how hard is it for him to keep fit and keeping that flow and keeping that form ready to start again after the pandemic?
I mean, if there was a time for him to sort of keep training, keep trying to impress Klopp and not have to sort of worry about games getting in the way or missing out on game time, it's now. Like, he is going to be able to carry on doing what he's doing. Hopefully training might start again soon. You know, they can't not train with the team for 4 months ideally. So hopefully things will get back underway at Melwood or back at the academy, and he'll be able to be in amongst with these, world-class players, potentially for 3 months, 4 months of not having to do sort of that game prep and that fitness, and just being able to cement his place in that team and being able to make a real impression.
Obviously, you're only young once as well, aren't you? And obviously, this long layoff, it could be a very long time.
Yeah.
It could really affect youngsters, and Curtis Jones obviously has had a very good season. So for that all to be voided would be horrible for the young man, to be fair.
Void goals scored, cancelled, you
exactly.
Just wipe it off the record. How is it going to work?
Another question for you then, James, before we go into the Twitter questions. How do you see the season being finished? Do you think that we will wait at all costs until, obviously, this is over and then you have to resume the season, you can't void it? Or do you think if it goes to a point where it goes into sort of July, August, September, that you have to obviously void this season and then start next season when you can?
I mean, from what I've seen, the Premier League want to carry on the games no matter what. And I think you can't start something new until you finish something else. You wouldn't start building a house, get halfway through, and then start building the extension. It just doesn't make any sense, does it really?
No.
Like, we need to finish this to determine what happens next season, because teams are going to miss out on Champions League, teams will miss out on promotion, teams that deserve to be relegated will probably end up earning a lot more money from staying in the league that they probably don't deserve to be in. So I think you have to finish this, and we'll sort of solve next season's problem when we get to it. You know, we've got the Winter World Cup, haven't we, coming the year after too? So it might sort of be the perfect time to sort of get used to playing a little bit later, get things ready for next year or the year after, and sort of wing it from there, really.
Absolutely. I think it's one of them situations where it's obviously difficult to call, but I think, obviously, as a Liverpool fan, we're going to be quite biased towards the situation, but it seems, even if you look at it from an outsider's point of view, it's very hard to avoid a season. A lot of people have paid a lot of money this season for something that may not even mean anything. You know, Liverpool fans have paid lots of money for tickets all season to maybe hoping that they see their team win the league for the first time in 30 years. And now there's a chance that it might all be voided and it might be worth nothing. So I don't think that is a possibility. And like you say, with the Qatar World Cup just 2 years away, that seems the most likely possibility. It seems like the best thing to do is to, whatever happens, rearrange the format of the Premier League for the next couple of years and work it around that. Because at the end of the day, it's not club sport what's going on at the minute. You know, we're in the middle of a massive global pandemic. Like, nobody can do anything about it. So the best thing to do is just be patient, just wait. But the issue, obviously, we've got is the issue that we've always had, and that's the fact that people don't talk to one another, and football communities don't communicate. And we've had that obviously this season with the FA and the Premier League, and I'm sure we'll have it with La Liga, Serie A.
Yeah.
Lots of different things, but at the end of the day, it'll come down to UEFA massively as well.
Yeah.
It'll come down to them saying, no, we're finishing the Champions League this season, and that I think will make obviously La Liga, Serie A, Premier League all extend their season.
They need to be consistent, don't they, in what they decide on. They can't say, well, we want to finish Champions League because that brings us money in, but we expect you not to play. It doesn't really make any sense, does it?
We need to work it internationally rather than nationally, but the issue with that is obviously you have it worse in Italy at the minute. Will that be finished before it here? Obviously, will that start to clear up there? Either way, I can't see fans being allowed at the last few games of the season. I think either way, if they do continue with the end of this season, I think it has to be played behind closed doors.
It's not worth the risk, is it, of one person still having it, and then we're back at square one, aren't we? When we're all locked in our houses. We
saw obviously with the Liverpool Atletico Madrid game. That's caused some issues because obviously there was a massive problem with coronavirus in Madrid before that game, and obviously people from Madrid, many from Madrid, allowed to flock into Liverpool and attend that game, which obviously now looking back at it, the government will probably say that they made a mistake allowing that, but at the time they said that it was fine and it went ahead, and obviously now it may have caused more cases in Liverpool especially, and maybe even across the country. So it's one of them situations that I'm sure the government will be wanting to avoid massively, really. But anyway, enough of that chat. Everyone's probably with all this talk, and our job is to occupy everyone and make it. It's not that. So I'll just get the tweet up here. Obviously, we tweeted the other day that we're doing these videos on a daily basis from today. The first couple of questions we got from Rachel there. This obviously a regular giving us questions. She likes the channel, so thank you again, Rachel. First of all, she wants to talk about a third goalkeeper. Obviously, we've had a lot of goalkeeper issues this season. Alisson missed the start of the season. In fact, we've had a lot of goalkeeper issues for a few years.
Yeah, it's not really a new story, is it?
We've got Loris Karius, who messed up in Kiev. He's out. He's back out, obviously, on loan at Besiktas. It's highly unlikely that he will play for Liverpool again. I don't want him to.
Very surprised, yeah.
I'd be very surprised if he does. And I know that I speak for the majority of Liverpool fans in saying that we don't want to see him play for Liverpool again. Obviously, Adrian came in at the start of the season. He did a brilliant job. He won us the Super Cup in that penalty shootout. But then, obviously, he's made some mistakes and perhaps an unforgivable mistake with the one against Atletico Madrid. I thought he looked very shaky throughout that game.
Yeah.
And I thought he looks like an accident waiting to happen. It was a tale of two goalkeepers. Obviously, at the other end, Oblak was absolutely magnificent. And it was one of them games where you could really see what someone like Alisson would do in our goal. And let's be honest, I think if you swap Adrian for Alisson that day, we come away, we were
the better team on the day, weren't we? So
absolutely, we dominated. And I thought we had one of our best performances of the season. But anyway, Rachel says, how about a third goalkeeper? Will Jaros step up if Kelleher goes out on loan? Which Rachel thinks he will. Or will Klopp get someone else in? Will Adrian stay? Is he good enough? There are a few things to get your teeth into. So we'll just have a general chat about this now. Yeah. James, what do you think about the goalkeeper situation next season? Obviously, we were linked with the Trabzonspor keeper at one period. Kelleher has been linked out on loan constantly. Adrian, apparently he might be going back to Betis.
Yeah.
Then there's the whole Karius situation where he doesn't want to come back to Liverpool. Liverpool don't really want him back, but Brigitte sign him. So it's going to be interesting whenever the transfer window opens again, if it does open again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, isn't it, James?
Yeah, I mean, I do like Adrian, and he has done very well for us this season, but he's shown against Atletico that he's not a Champions League quality keeper. And when you have sort of mistakes or you have, players not performing, you can't afford to have that at the highest level. The Trabzonspor keeper looks very good, and I think the Leicester goalkeeping coach who went to scout him said he's one of the best keepers he's ever seen, which, fills us with confidence that if we're going to spend 20 million on a backup keeper, he is sort of the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I do like Jaros as well. I don't think he's ready for the anywhere near the first team yet.
We have a few young goalkeepers, don't we? And it's also the fact that obviously Rachel thinks Kelleher's going to go out on loan. If he doesn't go out on loan, then what happens there? Does Andy Lonergan stay? I don't think so. Although we do seem like an experienced goalkeeper, so will we sign another experienced goalkeeper as third choice? Will Grabara come back?
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be a thing that I think may happen. However, I prefer him to go back out on loan somewhere, even if Kelleher does go. But like you say, we have Yaros, we have Ben Winterbottom, we have Ojazinski, we have an abundance of good goalkeepers.
You have like a ridiculous amount of young goalkeepers. It's insane. We play like a different one weekly.
Absolutely. So, Rachel, the answer to your question is anything could happen. We've got so many good young goalkeepers. There's obviously that interest for the goalkeeper from Trabzonspor. And then you've got Kelleher and Grabara. What's going to happen with them? They're probably ready for first team football now, but not first team football at Liverpool. And that's the issue that they're going to face. They're young goalkeepers. Do we want to, give them a proper development and give them first team football elsewhere? Grabara's had a season with first team football. Does he deserve maybe first team in the Premier League? Maybe another season in the Championship? I think it's going to be a waiting game. And as we said earlier on in the video, nothing's for sure at the minute in football, and I think that our third goalkeeper, nothing's for sure with that either. Another question from Rachel is about Curtis Jones, whether we think he'll have a semi-regular part to play as a Lallana replacement next season, or whether Klopp will sign someone with more experience. James, there was a rumour a few weeks or months ago now. Obviously, it's hard to put a time frame on it because obviously time's so messed up at the minute. But with interest to Todd Cantwell. Now, for me, I don't understand that. I'd much rather Curtis Jones through, but it's interesting to see what you think, James, on that whole situation, and whether you think Curtis Jones deserves more time, more games next season.
I feel like I've been saying it sort of all season now. I do really want to see Curtis Jones go into that Lallana role. I think he is sort of the perfect player to go in. He can play on the wing, he can play in midfield, he can play a little bit further forward too. And he has a sort of similar skill set too, where he's technically superb on the ball, but he's also got that sort of flashy ability with the ball at his feet too. I think if anyone's going to come in and we're not going to spend sort of 40 mil, he is, nailed on pretty much to succeed in that squad role.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think obviously he's shown in the first team when he's been in it this season how good of a player he is. He continues to improve every single time you watch him, and the man has loads of confidence at the minute. And there's no point going out and signing a Todd Cantwell for a lot of money in a player that isn't going to be happy with the sort of minutes that he's going to get. Whereas Curtis Jones will thrive on any given chance, and he will love any possibility in the first team. And I think he'll continue to work hard, and if he knows it's in touching distance, he'll push and push and push for a regular first team spot. And I think that's what we should be encouraging.
I think he'd have seen the sort of progress that he's made over the last few years too, and he can see these sort of big steps that he's taken the last 2 years, and he'll see that the next sort of step is to be in that first team, be on the bench sort of every week. And he's ridiculously close now, so he's not going to just step aside now. He's going to step up his game because he knows that he's probably only a few months away from being that player.
Absolutely. I think he's probably, we've got another question now, which I think we might talk about Curtis Jones a bit more. Of the players who have yet to make an appearance for the senior squad, what academy player will break through as a consistent first team squad member? The next Owen, Trent, Stevie, Carra. That's from Mike Walder. And obviously, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, players like that have made senior appearances. They have been in and out of the senior squad. So it'll be interesting to obviously not pick one of them. But obviously, out of them first, it would be Curtis Jones right now, wouldn't it? Neco Williams is very close, but we also have the best right back in world football, so it's very difficult. But interesting to say, obviously, without players that have made a senior appearance, so that's no Leighton Clarkson, no Jake.
A while not to pick someone.
It is going to be very hard, but if you had to, James, who would you pick?
I'm going Leighton Stewart because I know he's on the bench in the League Cup, as far as I'm aware, but he's got, 11 goals, 4 assists in 12 under-18 Premier League games. That's a ridiculous sort of return for a first-year scholar, and he's only just sort of turned 17 too.
He's been good when he's been in the under-23s as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's impressed a lot, and I think he's a player that absolutely. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 goals, 2 assists in 3 youth league games too. Like, he has sort of came into that team, even though he's probably one of the youngest lads there, and just immediately made an impression. And then he's got a few minutes with the under-23s as well in the Premier League too.
I think with Leighton Stewart, obviously he's a superb player, and we've seen in the under-23s this season as well. He's really impressed. And when he's needed to step up, he absolutely has stepped up. He's been in the under-18s, as you say. He's a first year in the under-18s.
Yeah.
To do what he's done in the under-23s as well has been superb. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, he's obviously a good bet. But as I say, it's so difficult because the amount of that have been handed that senior appearance this season, where people haven't seen much of them, but they are players that could make their way through. For me, I would have said Leighton Clarkson, but obviously he got that appearance against Shrewsbury, so it's difficult, obviously not to say him. But yeah, he's definitely a player to watch as well, Leighton Clarkson. Obviously, a lot of people would have seen him in that game against Shrewsbury. But I think he's a cracking player. And I know
it's his playing style too, though, isn't it? The way he plays as that defensive striker. We tried to make Brewster that sort of false 9, that defensive forward. It didn't really work out for him because he wasn't that player. But Leighton Stewart seems to be sort of, his skills are pressing, it's harassing defenders, it's then making those sort of late runs into the box and getting those sort of rebounds or those shots that you wouldn't sort of expect a proper number 9 to be in the position for.
Yeah. Absolutely, and he's physical as well, isn't he? He's a lad, so it's good, and it's something different actually. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Leighton Stewart and Leighton Clarkson. So the answer to your question, Mike, is the 2 Leightons really, and I don't care that Clarkson's already had a game. It was Shrewsbury, so there you go. Mike also asked another question. He says, are any of the young Dutch centre backs ready to step up into the void of Lovren if he was to be sold on? What do you think, James?
I'm going to say no right now because they're still 17, 18, and we've sort of seen that Sepp isn't quite there yet, even though he's sort of coming to a bit of form, hasn't he? Sort of maybe since February time, end of January, he has stepped up his game a lot. But I don't think they're there yet, and I think if we are sort of going to sign someone, it'll be like someone like Ben White, who's early 20s, he's got a lot of area to improve, but he's not going to be in their way because they've still got sort of 5 years on him.
We'll be talking more about Ben White, obviously, in a video later this week.
Yeah.
But I'd say, if anyone, it's going to be Hoover. I think when he's had the opportunity to step up this season, he absolutely has, and he's impressed every single time. He's diverse. He can play centre-back. He can play right-back. So he's a player that Klopp will like. And yeah, it offers something huge. And to be honest with you, I can see Neco Williams going out on loan next season. I just think he's such a good talent that regular first team football at a club will be something that he wants, will be something that obviously a lot of clubs want. And it might be something that Liverpool are interested in. So it'd be good to see. Obviously, then Hoover will obviously then be backup right back and a backup centre back. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. But as you say, the Ben White interest looks like it's something that can be concrete. So it'll be interesting to follow that and see what happens. One from Peter Doyle now, not to do with youth football, but obviously we can extend at the minute with little to talk about. And it's on Naby Keita, and he asked, do we think Naby Keita's time is up, and should he be viewed as a flop, or does he deserve more time due to his injury-prone time with us so far?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I don't like I'll happily call a player a flop if they perform badly, but when he's played very well. So you can't fault him on his performances. I don't think it'd be fair to say that he hasn't. So he's not Liverpool's quality, because he very much is. He plays exactly sort of how we're looking to play, but the fault's not really his own, is it? And he is trying to get fit consistently too. That's
the thing. We've been so angry down the years with players like Daniel Sturridge, Adam Lallana, when they've had seasons where they just pick up like 3-week injuries, then they come back to fitness, then they pick up another 3-week injury. It's incredibly frustrating. But with Naby Keita, you can see a player there. You can see it's not just a glimmer of hope. he is a very, very good, very intelligent player that fits Klopp's style of play superbly. He fits the Liverpool team superbly. And we've seen at periods this season some very good play from Naby Keita when he has been able to play. Obviously, there's been some very good link up with Mohamed Salah at times. And it is incredibly frustrating. But obviously, as you say, it's no fault of his own. You can't obviously help what happens with your body. It's not as if he's rushing himself back. I think at times he struggles with playing through the pain barrier, but that's something that I think will come. I think in the summer when he obviously stupidly ended up going with Guinea, which wasn't his call. He was forced to go. But clearly that's disrupted his season this year as well. And you know what? If one player could really if one player could really be in favour of this long layoff, it would be Naby Keita, because he's got time to train at home, get ready, get back into full fitness, and push for a starting place in Klopp's team again. And he gets an extra bit of time off. And it's going to be interesting to see if obviously the league is continued. If we do finish the season, we need 6 points to win the league. We're going to have a shorter pre-season. We're not going to go on tour, but pre-season will be shorter. So it'll be interesting to see if we win the league. That's done with competitions. Then does Klopp put his feet up? Does he start resting first team players and look ahead to next season?
Yeah,
I think that's a possibility. At the end of the day, with everything that's gone on during the season, I don't think when the season is finished, people will look ahead and go, "Oh, we need to think of the points tally," because I think it'll be immaterial. I think it will literally just be wrapping up that league. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in weeks and months. But I definitely would say do not give up on Naby Keita, and I do think we should sell him whatsoever.
For sure.
I think it makes no sense. Lastly, before we go, is there any players you suggest we watch who could make a breakthrough next season? That's Jamie A.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we've seen so many already break through this season. You don't want to be repeating the same lads, but it's hard to say, all of those sort of 10 lads that made their debuts this season are all going to have the same sort of season again next year, because realistically we probably won't be in that same position, which we probably will know what the FA are like, because they are pretty useless. But it's so hard. I think Leighton Clarkson, if he can bulk up, he will be one of the breakout players.
Absolutely.
At the same time, maybe one of the defenders too, maybe Yasser Larouci, or maybe even Jack Walls can be the sort of Nico Williams this season. If Nico goes out on loan, he could be that lad who comes up, because he's been very good, filling his place in at the under 23 side too.
Maybe Adam Lewis.
If he can stay fit, it's the same as sort of Naby Keita. He can stay fit and get past these sort of little issues. He can fill in midfield. He can fill in at left back or left mid, depending on what system we're playing.
Absolutely, that will all depend on whether we sign a backup left back or whether Klopp puts his faith in obviously Milner and Adam Lewis. Then we've got obviously, as I say, Keanu Hoover might be one of them. You then might have Harvey Elliott getting more game time. Curtis Jones might be a regular first teamer. I think it's one of them. I think Leighton Clarkson has another season or two in him at youth level. Obviously, we've only just seen him step up to that under 23s. So I can't see him breaking through next season. Another one might be Neco Williams, but it might be that Neco Williams breaks through outside the Liverpool team. I genuinely can see him out on loan, unless Klopp's got a little trick up his sleeve in playing Trent in central midfield.
Like Preston maybe could suit him. It's not too far, is it, from here? But he'd be able to probably get minutes at a team that are pushing for the championship too. Probably the best environment for him going into next season. But it's sort of up in the air at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's up in the air at the minute. It's difficult to answer any questions football based. But yeah, that's it for today. That's the video for today. We'll be back tomorrow for more. Obviously, we're not going to purely do football videos. We're not going to purely do youth videos. But over the next few days and weeks, we'll try and do as much as we can.
Any suggestions, just let us know, because we want
anything that obviously you suggest. So it's all up to you. Whatever you want to see, me and James will try and do it in the next few days and weeks and months. We'll try and make self-quarantine a bit more fun for you. But thank you very much, James, for joining us again. And we'll see you tomorrow for more.
See you later.
See you later.